And we can start. Let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see your screen.
Okay. So basically, if you ever came across any programming language or any syntax, there are variables, right? And what variables do is they store value. Okay.
Yeah.
So similarly in Talend we have variables. We have two kinds of variables. One is global variable, and the other is local variables, or you can say context variables.
Okay.
Okay. So and if you have done some coding, they we always have setter and getter functions.
Okay.
Okay. So
Saturn gets up.
okay, from set, you can set the value in a global variable, and from get you can retrieve that value. Okay, and then we have
Okay.
the context variables. Okay, so if you remember the last job, it was this job, right? So if you go to
Yeah.
this is a global variable. Okay,
Yeah.
this is a
Yeah.
global,
You told.
what this component already stores this value and you're getting this value. This is the name of that global variable, and this is the function to get the value. Okay, so you can
Okay.
also create, and string is because the value in this particular variable is of string type. That's why we typecast it as string. Okay, this is the syntax. You don't you'll learn it, but we usually don't use these variables. We use local variables that are much easier to use. Okay, so it's just the
Okay.
syntax for setting a value in a global variable. What you'll do, you'll do it global map dot set, and let's try this. Let's create a job, and let's see if we can do it. Wait, let's copy this. Let's just copy this and just remove. Okay, so for all kind of all the coding, we will do it in T Java component.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we you can write the code and print it over here as well. So let's see. So what we can do is just remove this part. Okay, and let's see if it works. Global map dot set, and you can give the name is var. Okay, and in
Okay.
the next line what we can do is we can print this and check if it is working. System dot out dot print ln. This is a very famous Java code
Yeah.
to print. Okay, so over here you can paste this part and close the variables, and instead of get we can instead of set we can write get over here, and over here I'll put the variable name, that is var, and let's see if it works. Okay, the left side must be a variable, so we have some error.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You put in a string.
Let's see, let's try putting the string. Okay, and let's do it as set. Let's see now. The left hand side must be a variable. to what is the issue?
Can
Let's see.
you just put the where? I guess it's in a string.
Sorry, what?
Dot sat inside the bracket. Just remove the quotation. I guess so.
This quotation? No, no, we
Yeah.
had this. Let's see.
Oh, okay.
No, no, we have this quotation, right? So, okay, what we can do, we can just Google the syntax over here. Let's just Google the syntax talent global nap set.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, let's see. Okay, sorry. Yeah, it's not set, it's put.
Put. Okay.
Okay, my bad. Sorry, sorry. Yes. So instead of set, this is how you add the value,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and you add it in the same. You don't have to equate it. So you add it by comma. Okay. So let's just run
Okay.
and test. Okay, so it has printed this value. So you can use these global variables as well, but over here in this case you have to actually write the code, right? So to
Yeah.
avoid that, I want to create a variable and set the value. For that you can, it depends whatever you're whatever you're feasible with, you can use global or local context variable as well. So in context variable there are two types of context variable. One is okay, one are job level and one are project level. Okay, so
Okay.
the project level variables you create from here. Okay, so what I
Mm-hmm.
can do, I can create a variable here. You can give it a name test. Next, you can add as many variables over here, so let's give it a file path. Okay, and
Okay.
this is context variable, or just okay, just give it file path. And this script code, this basically is the, this particular code is what you use in your jobs. Okay, and over here you can store
Okay.
the value as well. If you go value as table, and over here you can give it some value. Let's just give it d slash abc. Okay, and
Okay.
what you can do is finish. Okay, now this particular this is the group, and we have one variable in it that as file path, and you can use it in multiple jobs. Okay, so what you can do, you can to use it in this job you have to import it. For importing it, you can click on this button. You'll get the option, and we have this variable. You cannot change it in over here. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
the variable you're creating globally, you cannot change it in the job level. Okay, so the only difference between these two is
Okay.
the scope level. So this variable can be used in multiple jobs, but if the other variable we'll see when you'll create that, that will be only job specific. Okay, so
Okay.
just let's just print it. For printing, what we'll do, we'll instead of, let's remove this,
Just pass.
we'll just pass context dot, and if you press control space, you'll get the option. So let's see file. Okay, we're not getting this option. Let's just do it like this, and let's see if we
It's
get
I
the
guess.
file path. Sorry. Okay,
Oh, okay.
so you got the file path. Okay, so you can also pass this in the particular file, right? So for example, this is a file path. change to built-in value variables. Okay, so I'll copy this file path, right?
Em-
And what I'll
the
do, I'll
content.
change the value over here. Edit context group,
Okay.
next, value as table. I'll pass this value over here. Finish. Okay, okay. So it will change in all the jobs. So over here, what I can do, I can pass this particular variable instead of writing the whole path as well. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now, if I run, I will obviously get an error. Can you tell me why?
Because we don't have any file now. Yeah.
No, 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 no. Because uh, we have not imported that
Oh,
particular
yeah. You
over
need to
here.
import it.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's just import it in this job as well, and let's run it. Okay. So
Okay.
it has passed the file path to it, and the over here you got the result of that file. Okay.
Okay.
So these are context global context variables. Okay, not global variables.
Okay.
These are global. Like the only difference is of the scope, right? So there are some variables that we only need for some particular job, and we don't want to reuse them in other jobs. So for such variables, what we do is we create the variable over here. So you can create a variable over here like this, and this is what we do. Okay, max
Mm-hmm.
date, and you'll get the script over here, and you can set the value over here. Let's set it as ABC for now. Okay, and
Okay.
what we can do is, let's just remove this and copy this, and let's just print it. System dot out dot print max date. Let's just run it. You can give it any name. The reason I've given max date is I'll populate the date in it later. Okay, so this particular variable I've created over here, I cannot use it in another job. Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
so that's the only difference between these two. But these so instead of creating the variable and hard coding the value, I could write the value directly, right? So this is not meaningful. It's meaningful when it's dynamic, right? So I'll
Yeah.
give you a scenario that we perform in most of the jobs, and you will have to do as well. So okay, so we get the data, and we have a data in a database in a table, and you have to check the max date of that table, date in that data, max date of the data in that table, and then you have to run the process. You have to export the data after that date. So you'll add it where date is greater than equals to the max date in the database, right?
Yeah.
So for such scenarios, you dynamically add the value in a variable. So how you can do that is, let's just keep it as null, and let's just have a uh, let's just have a database TMySQL input, and okay,
When you write the
you
query.
can write the query over here. Let's see if we have a table. Okay. Okay, give me 1 second.
Yep.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, 1 second. There is some issue with my internet. Okay, so yeah, so I have this date. What we can do is we can We can select the maximum date. Let's just select max, create date from this table, and then cast it as date as well. So it's not necessary we can have the complete as well, but usually we work on days, right?
Yeah.
We select the value, we select the date of that, because probably of from this date you can have data, you'll get duplicates, okay? So that's why we select the
Okay.
data. So we have the data over here, so we will just run this query. We will run this query over here. Guess schema. Okay, every time you add a query, you have to guess schema, okay? So what we can do, we
Mhm.
can give it a name over here as well, max date. Okay, and guess schema. So over here we have max date, and now what we'll do is, we will dynamically assign the value to a context variable. Okay, so for
Okay.
that, okay, whenever there's a flow, we will always use tjava row. Okay, whenever we are passing a flow. Okay, currently
Okay.
we were not passing anything, we were just writing the code on that component. But when we have to pass the data from one component to another, we will always use tjava row. Okay,
Java. Okay.
so now over here what I'll do is I'll just add the code, that is context dot max date, sorry, equals to. Now what I want to do, I want to pass the result of, I want to set the result of this query in this variable. Okay, so for that
Mm-hmm.
I'll do, okay, so we will have this particular flow has a name row 1. So what I'll do is I will add row 1, and you'll add the column name. So the column name is max date. Okay, and over here, if
Yeah.
you to pass that column, you will always sync column, so that you have the schema over here as well. Okay,
Yeah.
any questions so far?
No. I guess
Okay,
you wrote the wrong row one.
no, no,
ROW. It's a
no,
ROV.
no, it's ROW. It's something. It's W, not V.
Oh, it looks like V.
No, no, it's W.
Oh,
This is
okay. Okay.
probably
Okay.
okay. And then in the end, you always add a semicolon. Okay, so that's
Mm-hmm.
Java syntax. So if I'll run, it will set the uh value. Okay, now I have an issue, that is
Yeah.
cannot convert from date to string. So what we'll do is we'll check the, you can do two things. You can either change the value, the type over here, or you can change the value in the context variable. And the better thing to do is to change the value in the context change the data type in the context variable. So we have this data type, and we'll change it to
Date.
date. Let's see. Yes. Okay. Now let's just run and check. Okay, so now it has dynamically stored the value over here. You can see it by printing it, system dot out dot print ln, and you can over here you can pass this particular variable,
Okay.
and now you can run it again. So it has given you the date. Okay,
Okay.
now what I want to do is I want to use this context variable in another query. Okay, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for that, what I'll do, I'll just copy this entire this component and I'll paste it again. And over here, I'll select. Okay, over here I'll select one when component. Okay. Then over here I'll add select all from select all from this where uh let's remove this. Let's keep the date. And now over here I want to equate it with the variable. Okay. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to add that variable in the where condition. So you have to be very very careful with the syntax. So this is the string, this is this the query. Now I'm embedding the Java code. So to do that, you have to make sure the query is in the quotation marks. You add a plus sign, then you write the context dot file, sorry, max date, the name of the context variable. Let me check, it was max date, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
And
mixed.
then you'll add a plus sign again. And okay, there's we always have date in when when we write query. Like if I'll do this, when we write query, we do it like this: select all from where is equals to copy field, and it is always in single quotation, right? And then it will give you the data. So we need to incorporate this single quotations as well. So I'll add one single quotation over here, and other I will do after the, let's just minimize this, after the plus sign. So
Yeah.
here, that's how you'll do it. Okay.
Okay.
So what we'll do, we'll guess schema again. Okay, so over here it's getting null, and that is why
Yeah.
we're getting an error. So what we'll do
I
is,
guess there is one syntax error. It's a comma after the ETL underscore dev dot test.
sorry.
Before the where. Before the where there is a comma.
Oh yes, this is the semicolon, not comma. Let's guess schema again.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, semicolon.
So yeah, that's correct. So we have the schema now. We have the schema of all the columns. We'll select OK, and now to print the result, we will use which component? That's do you remember the component name?
Um, no, I don't think.
For printing purposes, there was one component that we used yesterday.
For oh yeah, T log.
Tlog row, exactly.
Yeah, T
So
log row.
tlog row. We'll just drag it over here and we'll minimize this and we'll row main.
Okay.
Okay. You can print values at tables, sync columns, and just run the job. So what this job is doing, it's selecting the maximum date from this table. It is storing it in a variable, and then it is using that variable uh, to fetch the data. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have the result. So this is a very common task that we have to do. We select the value, and we sometimes have to delete that uh, data set, and then we have to reload data from that date and after. Okay. So
Okay.
that depends from situation to situation. So let's stop here. You finish, you can
Mm-hmm.
do you have any questions?
No,
No.
not right now.
Okay, so let's just finish here, and you let me know if you have any questions.